Before we begin this long journey, thank you for arriving. You did not rush here. You drifted.
Like the ocean drifts. If you enjoy calm histories, quiet voices, and stories that move like water, you may gently stay. Now let us begin, slowly, very slowly. Long before houses, long before boats, long before songs, there were islands. Not loud islands, quiet ones. They rose slowly from the ocean, formed by fire deep beneath the sea. Volcanoes breathed, lava cooled, stone became land. The islands did not ask for people. They waited. Wind shaped them first. Wind and salt. Cliffs learned patience. Rocks learned stillness. There were no footsteps, no voices, only waves arriving and leaving again. In Cabo Verde, the wind is never empty. It carries stories before people exist. It moves sand between islands. It shapes hills. It teaches the land how to endure. This wind would one day shape people too, but for a long time, it shaped nothing but stone and silence. Before humans, life still arrived. Birds rested on cliffs, sea turtles came ashore. Fish gathered near warm currents. Nothing stayed forever, nothing needed to. The islands were not meant to rush. They were meant to wait, far away, across oceans. People began sailing farther than before. They searched for trade. They searched for power. They searched for routes. In the 1400s, Portuguese sailors reached the islands. They did not find kingdoms. They did not find villages. They found empty land. This made Cabo Verde different. No people were pushed away, but something else happened. People were brought in. Portugal claimed the islands. They became a stopping point in the Atlantic. Ships passed through, and with ships came people not by choice. Enslaved Africans were taken from the mainland and brought to Cabo Verde. Some stayed, some were sold onward. The islands became a crossroads of pain and survival. African traditions met European rule. A new people slowly formed through hardship, through adaptation. Life in Cabo Verde was never easy. The land was dry, rain was rare. People learned to endure. They learned to share food. They learned to wait for rain. Music became comfort. Storytelling became memory. Families blended cultures. Languages blended. This is where Creole was born, not planned, but necessary. Pain does not always shout, sometimes it sings. In Cabo Verde, music became breath. Morna was born, slow, emotional, gentle. It carried longing, it carried love, it carried distance. Even children understood it, because it sounded like the ocean. The islands suffered many droughts. Rain disappeared for years at a time. Crops failed. Animals died. Thousands died of hunger. People did not give up, but many had to leave. Migration became part of life. Leaving was painful, but staying could be deadly. Cabo Verde learned how to live with absence. Cabo Verdeans spread across the world, to the Americas, to Europe, to Africa. But they never forgot the islands. Songs traveled with them. Food traveled with them. The islands stayed small, but the people became global. Cabo Verde was shaped by wind, by waiting, by survival. Before independence, before modern times, before the world paid attention. This is only the beginning. Rest here, breathe. The story continues. When we last paused, the islands were no longer empty. People lived here now. They planted, they sang, they waited for rain. But life was shaped by something heavy. Cabo Verde became important, not because of gold, not because of riches, but because of location. The islands sat quietly between Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Ships stopped here, and many ships carried enslaved people. Men, women, children. They were taken from the African mainland. They were forced onto ships. They were sold like objects. Cabo Verde was a gate, a place where lives passed through. Some stayed on the islands. Some were sent onward. None chose this journey, and children grew up early. They worked fields. They fetched water. They learned silence. They learned when to speak and when not to. School was rare. Books were few, but stories were everywhere. Elders taught history through words. Songs taught lessons gently. Children learned who they were by listening. Families became Creole, not fully African, not fully European. Something new, but equality did not come with mixing. Power stayed with colonial rulers. Most island people worked hard and owned little. Life followed the sun. Wake early, work the land, hope for rain. If rain came, there was food. If rain did not come, there was hunger. Taxes were collected. Orders were obeyed. People learned patience, not because they were weak, but because survival required it. Some droughts lasted years. Fields turned to dust. Animals collapsed. Parents watched children grow thin. Many people died. Others made painful choices. They left the islands. Leaving did not mean forgetting. It meant surviving. Ships carried people away to São Tomé, to Angola, to America. Migration became a wound and a lifeline. When voices could not protest, music spoke. Morna grew deeper. Lyrics spoke of longing, of lost homes, of love across oceans. People sang softly, but they understood each other. Music became memory. No chains could stop a song. There were no loud rebellions, no giant battles. Resistance in Cabo Verde was quiet. It was endurance. It was preserving language, preserving food, preserving stories. It was refusing to disappear. People survived when the system expected them to break. In the early 1900s, small changes began. A few schools opened. A few books arrived. Some Cabo Verdeans studied abroad. They read about freedom. They read about rights. New questions formed. Why were we ruled from far away? Why were decisions not ours? Thoughts became seeds. Writers emerged. Poets, thinkers, they wrote about drought, about dignity, about identity. They did not shout rebellion. They planted ideas. Ideas move slowly, but they grow roots. Across Africa, colonial rule was questioned. Countries began to imagine freedom. Cabo Verde watched, listened. The islands were small, but the people were aware. Hope arrived quietly. Cabo Verde had endured slavery, colonial rule, hunger, distance. But something new was forming, a sense of self. Not yet freedom, but awareness. Rest here again, breathe. In the next part, the islands begin to speak louder. Something was changing. Not loudly, not suddenly. But the islands felt different. People were still poor. Rain was still uncertain. Yet minds were waking. Questions were no longer whispered. Only at night. They were shared, carefully, thoughtfully. More Cabo Verdeans began to study. Some became teachers. Some became writers. They read books from Africa, from Europe, from the wider world. They learned new words. Words like dignity, words like equality, words like self-rule. These words did not explode. They settled, slowly, into the heart. In the 1930s, a group of writers created a literary movement. They called it claridad. It means clarity. They wrote honestly about drought, about hunger, about island life. For the first time, Cabo Verdeans saw themselves on the page, not as subjects, not as shadows, but as people. Across Africa, change was moving. People were challenging colonial rule. Cabo Verde watched closely. The islands were far from the mainland, but the struggle felt near. Freedom elsewhere made freedom imaginable here. A man named Amilcar Cabral emerged. He was thoughtful, quiet, very focused. He believed freedom began with understanding. He studied agriculture. He studied people. He believed dignity mattered. He believed culture was strength. Cabral believed Cabo Verde and Guinea-Bissau shared a destiny. They shared history. They shared struggle. Together, they formed a movement. The Pechi. Its goal was clear. Freedom. Cabo Verde did not become a battlefield. There were no large wars on the islands, but the struggle was real. Ideas traveled. Support was given. Many Cabo Verdeans helped from afar. Some fought, some organized, some educated. Every role mattered, even as ideas grew. Life remained hard. Drought returned. Food was scarce. People still left the islands. But now, they carried hope with them. They no longer believed suffering was fate. They believed change was possible. The world began to listen. Portugal itself was changing. Colonial rule was weakening. In 1974, Portugal experienced its own revolution. Empires began to fall. Doors opened. In 1975, Cabo Verde became free. No fireworks filled the sky. No loud battles ended the night. But something deep shifted. The islands now belonged to their people. The long wait had meaning. Freedom did not bring instant comfort. Rain was still rare. Money was still scarce. But something was different. Decisions were now local. Voices mattered. Children grew up under a new flag. Cabo Verde had survived centuries of hardship. Now came the hardest task. Building a nation. Rest here again. Let the waves pass. Next, we step into independence and the modern world. For many years, the islands had waited. Not loudly, not angrily. They waited the way islands wait. Surrounded by water, surrounded by time. On July 5, 1975, the waiting ended. The Portuguese flag came down. A new flag rose slowly. Cape Verde was now free. Freedom did not bring treasure. It did not bring rain. The land was still dry. The islands were still small. There were no rivers, no forests. But there was something new. Responsibility. The people now had to decide how to survive together. At first, Cape Verde did not want to stand alone. The independence movement believed the islands in Guinea-Bissau were one people in two places. Same struggle, same leaders, same dream. They planned to unite. One nation, one future. But life is not only dreams. Guinea-Bissau had forests and rivers. Cape Verde had rock and wind. The countries were far apart. Needs were different. Governments faced different problems. Slowly, quietly, the unity plan faded. There was no war, no shouting, just understanding. Cape Verde chose its own path. The new government faced many questions. How do we feed people when we cannot grow much food? How do we build schools without money? How do we govern islands spread across the ocean? There were no easy answers, only careful steps. Food security became the first mission. Ships brought rice and grain. Aid came from abroad. Communities shared what they had. No one expected comfort. They expected fairness. Water was protected carefully. Every drop mattered. Leaders chose education. Not factories, not armies. Schools were built slowly. Teachers were trained. Children learned to read in their own language. They learned their history. They learned that their islands mattered. Hospitals were few. Doctors were rare. But care improved. Vaccinations spread. Basic medicine reached villages. Mothers learned prevention. Children survived illnesses that once killed many. Quiet progress saved lives. Cape Verde did not forget its soul. Music stayed central. Morna carried sadness. Caldera carried joy. Songs spoke of drought, migration, and love for home. Music reminded people who they were. Many Cape Verdeans lived abroad. Portugal, America. They sent money to families. They sent ideas and dreams. They visited when they could. The diaspora is part of Cape Verde's strength. There were mistakes. There were shortages. Some plans failed. But there was no collapse. No civil war. No hunger riots. People trusted gradual change. Patience became strength. The government avoided violence. Disagreements were discussed. Power was not seized by force. This was rare. Many countries watched with quiet respect. Cape Verde learned stability before speed. By the end of the early years, Cape Verde was still poor, still dry, but it was peaceful, educated, stable. The foundation was laid. Now the modern world approaches faster. The world grew smaller. Telephones, radios, and planes connected the islands to everywhere else. Cape Verde was no longer isolated. New opportunities appeared, but new challenges came too. In 1991, Cape Verde held its first multi-party elections. Power changed hands without violence. People voted. Leaders listened. This peaceful democracy was rare in Africa. It gave people hope. Music remained the heart. Cesadia Ever's voice traveled across oceans. Her songs told stories of longing and home. Morna and Coladeira became world treasures. Music showed the world the beauty of Cape Verde's soul. Millions of Cape Verdeans live outside the islands, in the USA, Portugal, and beyond. They send money to families. They send ideas and dreams. They visit when they can. The diaspora is part of Cape Verde's strength. The islands face droughts and changing weather. Water is precious. The government and people work together to protect the land. They plant trees. They conserve water. They learn how to live with nature's rhythm. Roads have improved. Schools teach computers. Hospitals have more medicines. Tourism grows. But life is still simple. People know the value of patience. Children grow up with stories of struggle. They learn to speak many languages. They dream big. They carry the past and build the future. Their eyes look beyond the ocean's edge. Cape Verde joins the world. They are members of the United Nations. They work with other countries. Their voice matters, not because they are large, but because they are steady. They teach others about peace, about unity, about hope. The story of Cape Verde is still being written. The islands keep listening, and the wind keeps carrying stories. Now you carry this story too. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your care. The journey continues, always forward, always steady.